Probably the easiest 5 stars I've ever given in my life. I'm not explaining this very well.
Oh my god, the tension. I don't even want to get into it because I genuinely, kid you not, it gave me a massive ick.
I don't do law. Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Having done, I think, 3 videos in a row that are Beat the Backlog vlogs, I decided it's time to give it a little bit of a break. Change it up a bit, give me a new way of randomly getting my books decided for me that kind of is a bit exciting for me. And the one thing that I find really exciting is unwrapping presents. And it's not my birthday, Christmas is over, so there are no times in this year right now that I will be unwrapping any presents, so I manufactured one. I have gotten Ben to wrap 3 books in my physical TBR that I haven't read yet, and throughout this vlog I'm going to be unwrapping each of those books, reading them and giving my thoughts. Ben is currently wrapping the books at the moment, but he has given me the first one, and can we just give him credit for the amazing wrapping skills. From feeling it, I can tell it's a hardback, which means there's about 4 or 5 books that this could possibly be, but I'm not gonna guess. We're just gonna get straight into unwrapping the first book because I have a hair appointment soon and I am going to be bringing this book with me so I can get started on reading it. Oh, I had a feeling it would be this one. I had a feeling because I just created the piles for him and this was one in the pile that I was kind of like, I really hope he picks this one. This is Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood. This is a book that I picked up at Yalc, which I'm guessing is why he picked it because he went to Yalc with me, so he obviously saw me acquiring many a book, and this one is one of them. As for what it's about, I don't really know, so let's read it together. It says, in the cursed kingdom of Ithaca, each summer brings the hanging of 12 maidens, a gift to the vengeful Poseidon. For 17 years, Leto has escaped the curse's mark, until now. But death does not claim Leto. Instead, she wakes on a mysterious island, greeted by the immortal Melantho. She tells Leto that Ithaca's sacrifices are the legacy of the great Odysseus, payment for the lives of Queen Penelope's 12 maids, cast into the ocean centuries ago. Leto has the chance to break the curse. She just has to kill the Prince of Ithaca. But Prince Matthias also seeks to free his kingdom from the curse. Torn by her growing love for both Melantho and Matthias, Leto must choose a path to follow. By breaking the curse, they will save thousands of lives. But if they fail, then the tides of fate will drown them all. This makes me think of 2 things. The viral soundtrack, I guess, that's been going everywhere on TikTok at the moment, which is like, get in the water, or I'll raise the tide so high. That one. The second thing that this reminds me of is Percy Jackson, which Ben and I have been watching at the moment, purely because that one's about all of the Greek gods and we're dealing with Poseidon and everything, and obviously this one is too. So I am keen to be reading this. My plan for today is just to head off to my hair appointment in about 2 hours, so I'll get a little bit of reading done before then. Ben will deliver the next 2 packages. I'm not gonna open them on the camera right now. We'll open them as we go so you can find them out right before I read them. And yeah, let's get straight into the first book. The next 2 have been delivered. They're both paperbacks, which means there's about 1 in a million different things they could be. So there we go. We've got all 3 books. I'm not gonna unwrap these now, but let's start with Lies We Sing to the Sea. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I'm 8 pages in and I'm already like, wow, damn, Sarah Underwood, you're a little bit savage to your main character. But now, apologizing silently to the maid, who would doubtless be punished for her oversight, she exploded into action. Or more accurately, though it wasn't quite the daring escape she would have preferred, she shuffled, rolled, and twisted herself painfully into action. And then there's another one literally on the next page. Disoriented and completely devoid of a real weapon or plan, she staggered towards the door, then came up short at the sound of footsteps on stone outside. Like, both of those, I'm just like, wow, subtle shade, subtle shade. I kid you not, first intro to the other sort of main character, Prince Matthias, is Prince Matthias of Ithaca did not become aware of the most recent attempt on his life until nearly a week later, when his mother informed him over breakfast that the perpetrator, a fisherman by trade apparently, was to be hanged. Wonderful, said Matthias after a deliberate pause. He stabbed his fork into a grape and eyed it murderously. Will that be before or after we execute his daughter? Oh my god. I mean, it's brutal, don't get me wrong, it's brutal, but it's just kind of, the way that that's written is kind of comical. I don't know, there's a lightness to the language in this book that I'm really enjoying, whilst also being incredibly brutal in the subject matter. I'm not explaining this very well. Most ominous ending to a chapter ever. It says, and somewhere beneath the surface, someone stirred. I'm sorry, that's just like, it's just been the most like heartbreaking chapter. The sacrifice being made to Poseidon and, you know, the young girl being killed in a really horrific way, and I don't know how anything's gonna come back from that. I don't know if we're going into like the afterlife or what's happening here, but to have this horrific moment, to then have this like little section at the very end of this chapter that's just like someone stirred, like she sank quietly under the water, like, oh my god, it's creepy, it's eerie. And I'm really enjoying this book. It's so dark, so depressing, so deep, and the characters are so flawed, especially this Prince Matthias, but it's so interesting. Oh, okay, I'm reading. We're doing this one lying down because that's the vibe at the moment. But as you can tell, I'm home and it is now nighttime. And by nighttime, I mean not that late because it's London and everything's just really pitch black here really, really early. But anyway, I'm back from my hair appointment. My hair's looking like a mess. It was amazing. It was the most relaxing thing I have ever experienced in my life. They massaged my head like a lot. They did these like hot stone massage on my head as well, which was amazing. They did this CBD hair treatment, which made my hair smell so good. And they washed my hair, dried my hair, gave me tips about how to look after my hair, which I very much needed because I found out that you are not supposed to use purple shampoo every day because it dries out your hair massively. And I was like, that's why all my hair's been falling out around the crown of my head, because I've been ripping it out with my brush because it's so dry, so it's getting tangled so quickly. So good to have that explained to me. I also made dinner tonight for the first time in forever. It's giving Anna from Frozen. I'm sorry, I'm not that girl. Oh my god, that was embarrassing. But I made dinner. Well, I attempted to make dinner. I do this thing where I will try to make dinner. I will look up a recipe and I will be so prepared. And then I will realize that we don't have a lot of the ingredients that we need to make the dinner that I'm planning to make, because my planning is clearly not up to par. So I'll then go to Ben and I'll say, hey, we don't have any like spices that I need for this pasta, you know, like oregano or anything like that. And he'll be like, oh, okay, let me just like do a sauce. And then he kind of ends up doing it. But hey, the formation was my idea. Credit to him for that one. But anyway, none of that is relevant to Lies We Sing to the Sea, which I'm reading at the moment. I am now 144 pages in to this book, having a lovely old time. I just read probably the longest battle scene I've ever read in my entire life. And like, I've read some of those Sarah J Maas battle scenes, which are really freaking long. This one was like multi-chapter battle scene. And don't get me wrong, it was interesting. I lost interest a few chapters into it. But I mean, the story's really interesting so far. It's definitely giving the whole sapphic romance kind of thing, which is great, but it's a little bit insta-lovey. It's just like one day all of a sudden they were attracted to each other, which is fine, but you know, not exactly how I want a relationship to be formed. It's also very clearly YA, but the language has me thinking it's on the younger end at the moment. I'm having the usual issues that I have with all like mythology retellings, in that I can't pronounce 99% of the names. So I've now got it on Audible and am playing it that way, reading along. But anyway, dropping in here quickly to say I'm home from my hair appointment. It was freaking amazing, and I'm gonna do those hair treatments way more often because it was just such a relaxing experience, and the hairstylist was just so lovely. She got so mad at her colleagues because they weren't playing relaxing music for me, and I was like, it's fine, I'm having a little dance party over here, so keep it going. She was like, no, we're gonna play some relaxing like spa music. I'm like, go right ahead. I'm gonna just try not to fall asleep because they put this mask on your eyes that like blocks out the light, and I kid you not, I could feel myself falling asleep. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to reading this book. Have a lovely time reading it, hopefully. It's feeling 3-star at the moment, but that's fine. That doesn't mean I don't like it. Just means I'm not in love with it at the moment. It's just kind of sailing in the middle there. Gonna get back to reading and I will update you probably tomorrow. Hey, time for another update. It is Monday. I am well and truly home from work. It's like 8 p.m. now, and I've just finished Lies We Sing to the Sea, and I'm tossing up between a 3 and a 4-star. I'm not going to tell you my review now because I'm not wearing any makeup, so I don't want to be on the screen for very long, or on camera for very long, I should say, on your screen. But yeah, I'm tossing up between a 3 and a 4 because whilst it was definitely heartbreaking, moving, had amazing vibes and all that sort of thing, I don't know if I loved it or if I just thought that I can understand why people would love it. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what I mean. So I'm gonna sleep on this one, but because I have no patience, I'm gonna pick whatever the next book is gonna be. And this one is thicker than this one. So I'm thinking I'll go for the thicker one and then have like an easy end, presuming this is an easy book. I'm really hoping he didn't pick one of the books that were like second or third in a series, because then I kind of have to go and read the first one as well, and that just makes this whole thing a lot longer. Let's go with this one. Oh my god, no way. These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is one of those books that has been on my TBR for literally forever, and I've been wanting to read this book so badly because there are so many other books by this author that sound so amazing to me, and I really want to pick them up, but I don't want to pick them up until I've read These Violent Delights. This is a Romeo and Juliet inspired retelling kind of story set in Shanghai. It's 1926. You got two rival families. One has Juliet Kai, who's a proud heir of the Scarlet Gang, and then you've got Roma Montahov, who is like a part of a Russian gang called the White Flowers. They fought against the Scarlet Gang for generations, and these two people, not only are their gangs like brutally fighting against each other, but these two, they used to be in love. They used to have a thing. They used to have a relationship. Roma was Juliet's first love and her first betrayal. But when a deadly madness strikes both gangs, the people of Shanghai start to whisper of a contagion, and Roma and Juliet team up to figure out what's going on, and I guess sparks fly and we get ourselves a little Romeo and Juliet retelling. I am so excited to read this. I'm so worried though that I'm gonna love this and immediately want to pick up the next one when I have another book to focus on. Finally starting These Violent Delights. I'm gonna see if I can get the audiobook because it just feels like that kind of read. And I'm gonna get started on what I hope will be a fabulous book. Okay, I was fully not intending to do any more updates from my bed this evening in my pajamas or anything like that, but I have some thoughts. I need to say some things because my god. The first chapter, the prologue of this book, was so intense. It was so intense. And sorry if the camera is about to be all shaky because it's currently resting on my bed and that is not a solid surface. But oh my god. I have never read a prologue in my life that was as intense as that, and just the way it was written, like my heart, I could feel my heart start pounding. That was insane. And it almost felt reminiscent of a scene I think is the opening of Romeo and Juliet, where the Montagues and the Capulets meet, and one of them's like, I bite my thumb at you. No, I don't bite my thumb at you. Something about that. I feel like that's the opening scene of Romeo and Juliet. And this scene kind of reminded me of that at first, but then the way it ended, I was like, what is it? What is it? What's happening? What happened? Oh my god, oh my god. And I could not read fast enough. So this is gonna be a good book. I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm predicting it now. This is gonna be a good book. And I'm back again because the angst. Oh my god, the angst. Okay, I have to read you this line because it's amazing. His touch seared through her skin like a painful burn. Juliet jerked her arm away faster than if she had truly been set alight, her eyes blazing. He didn't have the right. He had lost the right to pretend he had ever wanted to protect her. Oh my god, something about that is just like, I can already feel the walls breaking down and I'm loving it. The infamous bird's eye desktop screen lighting shot is back again, and we are in here to give an update on Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood, in that I didn't give my review last night, so I'm giving it to you now when I'm wearing makeup and looking a little bit more presentable. Ignore the fact that I haven't brushed my hair. My thoughts on this last night were very much that I couldn't figure out whether or not it was heartbreaking and moving because I thought it was heartbreaking and moving, or if it was heartbreaking and moving because I thought everybody else would think that, and I can understand why they would think that. And I think I've decided that it's the second one. It is heartbreaking and moving, but I don't think I fully felt the emotional impact of that. Does that make any sense at all? I really hope it makes some semblance of sense. For me, this book was just like a lot of almosts. So like, I felt that the main characters were increasingly complex and morally gray, and I loved that I got to experience the story through multiple different POVs, but I never connected to any of them. I thought the conflict and the plot of the story was moving and incredibly deep, but I also thought it was a little bit predictable, and that's coming from someone who hasn't read any like Greek myths or anything like that, so I don't know the backstory to this story. I found the writing to be really vivid and beautiful and lyrical, but again, I found myself getting distracted, my intrigue was low, so it just didn't hold my attention. So my general thoughts are that this is an incredible story, but it is just not the story for me, because there are a lot of things about it that I can understand are amazing, but they didn't hit me in the way that I would want them to give it anything more than a 3-star, which is what I gave this book. 3.5 if you want to go into specifics. But I'm jumping into these Violent Delights today. I am just about to go on my lunch break, so I will be reading as I go for a walk, listening to my audiobook if I can find one, coming back, eating some lunch, reading more of this book before jumping back into work for the rest of the day. So I'm gonna go and do that. My thoughts on this book haven't changed because the last time I updated you was literally right before I closed this book and went to bed. So those are my thoughts on Lies We Sing to the Sea. That's my update on these Violent Delights, and I will talk to you about it more later when I actually have some semi-concise things to say about this book. Let's be honest, this vlog is not exactly the most concise thing that I've ever created. Also, I've just been editing some of my clips from earlier in the vlog, and I've noticed that some of my nighttime clips are completely out of focus, so I apologize profusely for that because it does not look great. So if you didn't notice that, don't go back and rewatch it, but if you did, sorry.
Sitting on the floor to read is so underrated. I mean, like, once your butt goes numb, it's really, really easy to get comfortable, you know? Like, once you can't kind of feel how hard the floor underneath you is, it's actually a really comfortable position. And yeah, I realize I'm not really selling this very well right now. Anyway, it is time for another reading update of These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and I am loving this at the moment. It is very much going into the backstory. We're not getting a lot of time spent with Roma and Juliet together just yet, but when we do, oh my god, the tension is so high. The tension between these two characters is amazing. There's just been a scene where he threatened her with a gun, and then she got the gun off him and threatened him with a knife, and then he got the knife off of her and threatened her with a gun and was like, oh, you didn't think I only had one, did you? And I was like, oh, that was so, I don't know, something about it. I was like, I can feel the tension. It's great. But outside of that, we're getting plenty of world building. So we're getting a lot of the history between the Scarlet Gang and the White Flowers and the conflicts relating to both those gangs and why they're kind of at the point now where it's like shoot on sight. And you're also getting the backstory about like what happened between the two gangs that made Juliet and Roma break up, I guess, 4 years ago. You're also getting a lot of backstory about the other sort of powers at play in Shanghai. So you've got like the English, the French, the communists, and how they're kind of taking over the city, and the Scarlet Gang in Shanghai is just anti all of this because they're like, the White Flowers are taking over and they're Russian and they're not supposed to be here. The English and the French are taking over, they're not supposed to be here. The Communist Party is taking over, they're not supposed to be here. This is our turf and these people are invading. Whereas the White Flowers are kind of in this position where they're like getting presented with opportunities to ally with these other groups that the Scarlet Gang calls like the foreigners. The contagion, I guess, that's been brought up in the beginning of the chapter is kind of getting delved into a little bit more, which is again very, very interesting. They're already beginning to suspect that maybe it's a little bit magical because there's some weird shit happening with bugs. I don't even want to get into it because I genuinely, kid you not, it gave me a massive ick. But anyway, all this to say that I am only like 86 pages into a 400 and something page book and I am loving it. Anyway, that's my update. That's it for me. I'm gonna get back to reading and I will talk to you later. Hey, please ignore the washing machine that you might be able to hear in the background. I just wanted to come in here one last time before I finish These Violent Delights to give you an update on my thoughts on this book, and that is I am still thoroughly enjoying this. My enjoyment's gone down a little bit just because it's been a very, very long read. It's taking me ages to get through it. I'm at 250 pages and it's about 430. And I think that's just because my reading of it has been so broken up by a lot of other things going on in my life. So I haven't been able to like slam through this as quickly as I usually would. And I found that sometimes that affects my enjoyment of a book, which is so not fair to the book, but unfortunately that's just kind of how it works. But I'm continuing to love the little moments throughout the story where if you're familiar with the Romeo and Juliet story, then you'll pick up little moments in this where it's like, oh my god, that's like a scene from Romeo and Juliet. Like there's a balcony scene that happened in this with Roma and Juliet, and I'm like, oh my god, that's the balcony scene. Like, is he about to say, wherefore art thou Romeo? Or she, sorry, Juliet says that, not Romeo. I think another reason why my enjoyment's gone down a little bit is because in the blurb it makes it sound like them teaming up happens right at the beginning of the story, but I'm 250 pages in and it's only just happened.
happened. The lead up to all these sorts of things that I mentioned in the blurb has taken a really long time, and that means like the sparks that I was expecting to fly between the two of them aren't exactly happening as early as I wanted them to happen, which is fine because at the end of the day, this is a historical fantasy, not a historical fantasy romance, but I still wanted the romance to come in a little bit faster because you know me, I'm a romance girly. I want that romance stuff happening early. Anyway, I'm enjoying this. I'm having lots of fun. I'm determined to finish it today. It is Thursday, so it is a work day, but I've only got like 200 pages left and I can read that before I start work on my lunch break and after I finish work, and hopefully get this finished today so I can unwrap the last book and we can close out this vlog and move on to whatever's next. No more dillying, dallying, or dawdling. I've got a tickle in my throat, so I need to go and get some water because I was presenting all day at work yesterday and now my throat hurts. And I need to go and read this book, and I need to give myself enough time to do that before I start work so that I can make a decent dent in it before I need to get to work. So that is the plan for today. I'm gonna go. I will talk to you once I have finished this book. Okay, so I know I said I wouldn't update you until I was at the end of this book, but I lied. I just could not resist updating because two things have happened in these Violent Delights that I need to talk about them. And the first one was, you know, the potion that Juliet takes in Romeo and Juliet that makes her appear as if dead? It just appeared in the book. It just appeared in the book. So there's a reference that the minute I saw it or read it on the page, I was like, oh my God, it's the potion that makes her appear as if dead. But it also had me immediately worrying that this book would kind of end the way Romeo and Juliet did. And I do not want this love story to end in tragedy. I know it probably will because it's a like Romeo and Juliet retelling thing, but I really don't want it to because I'm really enjoying the little romance that's happening here. But then the other thing that I want to talk about is something that I did not expect, which is something happening between two of the side characters. I'm not going to tell you who they are because spoilers, but something happening between two of the side characters, and I think it's sparking a little bit of a romance between them, and I'm really here for it. I think the tension between these two is great. I think the way that they would like balance each other out is gonna be perfect. So I'm really hoping that the cute little moment that just happened when their lives were kind of threatened and one of them was like, don't joke around with me, like don't pretend to be dying because you're gonna scare me and I can't lose you. Like when that happened, I was like, oh, please tell me they're gonna fall in love. Please tell me they're gonna fall in love. So yeah, those are the two things that happened. I'm gonna get back to reading now and I will update you on my lunch break. Oh my God, 5 stars. Probably the easiest 5 stars I've ever given in my life. This book, the ending, the cliffhanger, the mania that was the last like, I don't know, 50 to 100 pages. I am gobsmacked. I don't even know what to think. I don't know what to feel. I don't know how to react because this book was incredible. This book is amazing. 5 stars. I mean, everything that I've said earlier in this vlog still applies about all the references to Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet, about the tension in this romance. The way the tension broke in this romance was incredible. It was just one of those moments that you know you've been waiting the entire book for, and I was so glad that this was slow burn. I know I didn't love it at the beginning, but man, when that tension broke, it was just incredible. So it made me so glad that it was slow burn. The tense, crazy, not even battle, but like assassination kind of attempts at the very end and how things changed and the twists. And yeah, I sort of predicted one of the twists a little bit, but like, oh my God, this whole thing was just racing, insane. Read the last 100 pages in an absolute whirlwind, kind of incredible. And this book is 5 stars and I so badly want to pick up the sequel, but I can't because I have one more book in this vlog. But don't get me wrong, as soon as this vlog is over, I'm going to be reading the sequel to this book because this was incredible and I have no words. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. It's an easy 5 stars and I feel like I'm gonna go into a book hangover after reading that, but I can't because I have one more book to read in this vlog. Let's find out what that book's gonna be. I have the final book right here. Let's open her up and yeah, find out what we're gonna be reading next. Oh, I had a feeling he would do this to me. Oh God, this is not an easy read to end the vlog on. This is Fake Law by The Secret Barrister, The Truth About Justice in an Age of Lies. Essentially, this is an analysis, I guess, written by a barrister who hasn't revealed their identity of like all the random laws and things that exist that are completely unjust or stupid or whatever. It's very analytical, very nonfiction. It's gonna be a hefty read. So of course he's ended the vlog
with this book, and I'm a little bit terrified because this was one of those books where I was going to read a little bit at a time rather than having to read it all in a vlog. Let's get started on this one. Probably going to be less updates because I don't really want to go into the full analysis of this book, and it's not the sort where the reactions I've been having during this vlog are really going to apply necessarily in this book, so the vibes are about to change. But I've just finished my lunch break. I'm just about to get back to work, so I guess I will be picking this up after I finish work, and I will be giving you my thoughts as I make my way through it. And hopefully it's enjoyable, but I mean, it feels like it's gonna be intense. Hey, it is now Saturday, and it's time to talk about my final thoughts and feelings on fake law and wrap up this vlog. Yes, I did not do regular updates for this particular book, but that is because it is incredibly dense. It's non-fiction. It goes into a lot of detail about different cases and different situations and different laws and the incorrect reporting of those laws and those cases and the corruption, I guess, involved in the people that reported on those laws and cases, that I think if I tried to update you on it, it would be 99% me ranting and the further 1% genuine confusion, because it was a very complicated, dense book, and I don't do law. Like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have any sort of educational knowledge in this field, so it was an intense read for me. I gave this book 4 stars. As I said, it's super, super interesting because it really delves into different situations in the UK where a situation, a case, a legal situation has been reported on in a certain way, and how the way it's been reported was so incorrect, and by reported I mean like in the media, was so incorrect that it skews an entire public's perception of that situation, when there is just so much going on underneath the surface that you wouldn't know about unless you were personally involved in it. But you're not personally involved in it because you're reading about it and you're just getting outraged over something that you don't know the full details of. This guy goes through those cases, and don't get me wrong, he is not always fully supporting the outcomes of these cases and what happened in those situations, but he's presenting a fuller picture than what was distributed to the public in the media. I think it's really interesting how when he presents a lot of these cases, he presents them in the way that the public would see them in the media. So he presents that sort of dramatized, exaggerated story to you, and you're thinking that this is about to be a book by some racist, classist, elitist dude who just doesn't understand. But then the way he breaks it down into these little pieces that kind of explain the real situation that wasn't reported on is really interesting. So you're probably wondering why I gave this 4 stars, and I think that's because once you get, I think, 3 to 4 chapters in, it goes away from those sort of emotional cases and it goes very much into more corporate style or very non-personal situations. And I think once it went into that and analyzed those, I just lost a lot of interest and I stopped listening. I listened to all of this on audiobook, which is a very valuable experience because the narrator actually voices the outrage that you can imagine this secret barrister had when dealing with these particular situations or analyzing these situations. But yeah, so I lost interest about halfway through, but then it came back when he went into the epilogue at the very end and he analyzed like what the next steps could be, what we could do in the future, what his call to action is, and I thought that was really important, so that it didn't just leave you at the end with like, well, the whole situation shit, everything's broken, deal with it. He had some like actionable insight to offer. But yeah, I think this was a really interesting book. I am excited to read more of this author's work, but it's going to be a little while before I pick it up because this, I felt so much outrage reading this because of the way the incorrect reporting stirred people up into an absolute frenzy, and the way the people in power skewed really complicated emotional situations, like the government and everything skewed really complicated emotional situations for their own political gain when they really didn't have a lot of care for the parents or the people involved and what they were going through. Anyway, I don't want to go into a massive rant about this book because there's just a lot to unpack, and I'd really recommend reading it if you're interested in this subject matter, and especially if you're from the UK, because it really gives a different perspective of situations that went really viral for a while and you were truly fully on the support of the side that you think you should be on, but you didn't know the full detail. But anyway, that is the end of this video. That is the end of my fiance picks. my next 3 reads. There were some really, really good books in this video. I absolutely loved These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood was pretty good, but not something I'm super obsessed with, and Fake Law just had me wanting to rant and rave and go absolutely nuts because of the injustice of incorrect reporting and people trying to manipulate situations for their own gain. But let's stop the rant there before I go into it some more. Come and let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and you agree with my thoughts on them, or just what you're reading at the moment, loving it, hating it, all that kind of thing. Come and chat to me in the comments down below. I love talking to you guys and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It's a super, super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!